Hey Copper Nerds, this just in from Canada. This was a cherry pick off of eBay. It's either worth twice what I paid for it or 10 times what I paid for it. Let's find out. Let's get this thing opened up. This is a Liberty Cap large cent. It is either a 1793 Liberty Cap, in which case it's worth at least $1,000, or it is a 1794 head of 93, in which case it's still worth at least a couple $100. Photos were okay, but not great. I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty nice looking low grade Liberty Cap. And I'm very curious about the edge lettering. We're going to do a deep dive into this, probably end up getting a buddy of mine to do some overlays for us just to figure out what we have here. So there it is. It is a Liberty Cap. What does it say? 1793 to 5. It is a 1793 or very early 1794. Lettered edge. All right, let's pop it out. This is how we do it. Just very carefully break that film. It's open, coin is out. Here we are. Gosh, not a ton to go off of, but you can tell it's a head of 93. The position of the pole and the shape of the cap are going to be significant, as is the edge lettering. Let's see if I can make it out. It's pretty light. Let's see if my flashlight will help me. Oh, it's upside down. That'll help. Oh, it's so worn. All right, this is going to take some study and some investigation, and I'm going to walk you through all of it. All right, stay tuned. Really hard to make out details just because of how circulated this coin is. We do have the edge of 94, so this is not a 1793 cap. It's going to be a 1794 head of 93, and I believe we're leaning towards S20, but it's premature for me to say that. Just wanted to kind of show the surfaces here that the pictures don't really do a good job when I'm just flashing or snapping individual shots. You just kind of see the devices after I put a little bit of oil on the surface. Let me flip it over. I don't think we're going to make out much on the back. I mean, I can't come up with anything in terms of a diagnostic marker. So, head of 93, no date, a little bit of the bottom of the bust there. The hair shape may help a little. The pole, you see that there, is significant, and the shape of the cap may be. Yeah, maybe. So, I think we're looking at S 18, 19, or 20. I'm kind of hoping for a 20. It's one of the few that I still need. We're looking at either a 20B or an 18 or 19B because of the edge device. So this has been a little bit disappointing, if we're being honest. As I look at some of our diagnostics, the hair detail you see right under the cap there is sort of vertical. We don't see this activity here. What we see is that, which appears on the 18 and 19. It's gonna be the same hair, same head, same obverse die. The 20 kind of has that going on, but there's really no pole to speak of, at least here. So what do we want to do? Check out Noyes, maybe? This book's just got one reference photo of each. Let's take a look at some of the condition census photos of some of those obverse dies that are potential candidates for what we've got in front of us here. All right. Really was feeling good that could be a 1793 just because of what we were seeing for head details, but yeah, I don't think it's, I mean, it can't be because of the edge lettering, right? That means it's a 94. Yeah, the 17s are all going to display that more prominent hair detail here. Also, it would be a B edge letter, which would be an NC4. So we don't want to rule it out completely. It could be an NC4 if we have this head style. And you know, the pole is present there. That's one of our markers. We'll take some closer looks at it. I think we're going to see that it's going to be an 18. Which again, that hair the way it is, the pole is prominent. And it would be a B, not an A. So it'd be one of these. I just feel like we're seeing those hair curls there fairly distinctly despite the low grade. Just those little short, I said curls, I meant locks. Just the short locks, 3 or 4 of them stacked up on top of each other. I believe that's what I'm seeing. And same as, I mean, the 19 is the same as the 18, right? And it is. Same obverse. We have no reverse details to go off of, but that, again, the hair pattern and the pole, I think are gonna be pretty definitive on this one. We're gonna double check everything. And then the 20B, which is what I was kind of hoping it was gonna turn out to be, but I am reminded that there's really no pole detail at the cap. So unlikely to be a 20B. And if it was a 20A, it would be an NC, but again, we have the B edge device, the edge of 94 edge device. So unlikely that it's a B, we're really most likely looking at an 18 or 19B. But let's dig into it a little bit further, and I will still see if I can get an overlay to check it out. That would be helpful. So quick note before I forget, this is an 18, this is a 19, same obverse. Reverses are quite different, but one thing that's prominent even in low grades, 18s are usually slick, 19s have a very dished, strong dentillation where the 18s are pretty weak. These two really are in comparable condition. This one's just a touch higher grade, but you know, not a lot. But again, the reverse, very prominent dished dentillation on the reverse on the 19. If this one is an 18, it's probably, I mean, if this is an 18 or 19, it's probably an 18 versus a 19. Because even in this very low grade, we should see some evidence of that very dished dentillation. So just a note as we work through this mystery. So this is getting a lot more complicated. I'm at work, brought this with me, and I always keep some reference books here. Dan from Large Sense Archives, which is a YouTube channel I'm going to link. He is my buddy that does overlays. And he did some over the 18, but then also the 17, because he thought that was looking like a better fit. And since we were talking about reverse dentillation, I'm just gonna flip this one over so you can see that the more dished part of the reverse that shows a hint of a rim, which is not presenting real well here, but you can kind of see it, corresponds with where it would be on the reverse of a 17. The other thing that we're seeing is that the bust tip right here, this bust line is lower on the 17 than on the 18 and 19, and it seems like we have a pretty good fit here. Also, we have the loop right there at the bottom of the bust, whereas the 18 and 19 don't. And on the overlay that I'm about to put up, that Dan put together, there's a pretty good chance it could be a 17. And if it is, it's not a 17A with an edge of 93. It would be a 17B. And there's only 2 of those known in the world. This would be the 3rd. So if that is what this ends up being, this is like a $20,000 coin. I'm not convinced yet, but I told you I'd keep you apprised of the research. That's what I'm doing. Let's look at this overlay real quick. Let's look at that one more time. What you're seeing is a low-grade NC4 overlaid over top of this coin. So when the color turns brown and the date appears at the bottom, that is an overlay of an NC4 over top of this subject coin. All right, guys, real talk. If this ends up being a 17B, which is highly unlikely statistically, but if it does end up being a 17B, it's only the third one known in the world. One was discovered in like the 1930s. One was discovered in the early 2000s. Those are in a grade of like a Fair 2 and an AG3. This would be like a straight grade Poor 1. So I haven't seen those other two. Oh gosh, they're probably right in here actually. Let's see if we can find them. I'm just curious what their condition looks like. 17B. So if it happens to be one of these with that edge of 94, right? It's an R8 plus, they say. Yeah, here's both of them. This one they're calling a net 4, although in the EAC registry, you're going to see it in a second, it's a net 3. So that one has really a nice portrait. Honestly, pretty high grade for a head of 93, but it's got some corrosion issues. The Fair 2, that's a nice coin. That's a dang nice coin. Yeah, okay. Well, let's keep that in mind as we move forward, that if this does happen to be a 17B, it is a monumental discovery. Again, statistically unlikely, but we're gonna just follow the research and see what we come up with. So Dan just reworked yet another overlay for me. I'm gonna run this one for you as well. That bottom of the bust line, it lined up on one, but not on the others. And some things to keep in mind is that taking a photo from directly over, is this overhead, is this overhead, is this overhead? It's really hard to be precise. So that could be some variation from me. And another thing that Dan points out that is true is that in circulation, devices can shift a little bit. You know, as this wears, it could deform some of that bust line down in spots if that's the direction that it's being pushed during circulation. There's a lot going on here, but let's check out this next overlay. Let's run that one more time. What's concerning me now is this little void that we see right here on the low grade 17, whereas mine seems to have a little fuller hair detail right there. You know, perhaps more like this, but again, still a bit of a mystery. Let's keep doing the research. All right, copper nerds, after we sort of decided that hair hole was fatal, Dan went back over to the 18s again, 18 and 19 sharing obverse, did a couple more overlays with the 18 with a few tweaks, and it's looking like a really good match. Pretty sure what we have here is an 18B rather than a 19B, just because of that deep dish dentals reverse there, whereas it's pretty smooth here. We don't have a lot of dentilation happening on the reverse. Again, we saw a little bit around the edges, so I'm not completely ruling out the 19 yet, but you know, when I get back from work, I'll take some better photos and maybe tie this one up with a bow. But in the meantime, I'm gonna throw a couple of new overlays at you showing the 18/19 obverse. So pretty confidently what this is a Sheldon 18B with the edge of 94 and with the slick reverse. There's a off chance that it is a 19B, but again, I would expect to see, a much more dished reverse. I want to thank Dan from Large Cent Archives sincerely for the work that you put into doing these overlays. I would encourage everyone to go check out Dan's channel. He does a cool overlay there. And in fact, I'm just going to insert a video clip of another overlay that he did on a chain scent that is shockingly impressive. And I think you'll agree with the details that you're seeing in that overlay. So let's check that out real quick. And with that, I think we're gonna call it. This is a Sheldon 18B, possibly a 19B, but almost certainly an 18B. In either case, it's a duplicate for me. So what I think I'm gonna do with this one is I am going to give it to my partner in early copper, which is my oldest son, Kane. So he won't find that out until he watches this video, but that's yours, bud. Thanks for checking this one out, you guys. I will talk to you a little bit more in the comments, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.